All right, so today we're diving into the world of AI
Mm-hmm.
with Geoffrey Hinton. Now he's,
Eh.
well, he's been called the Godfather of AI, and he's been speaking out lately about some pretty big misconceptions people have about AI.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me is Hinton isn't just talking about like the technical details. He's really like challenging our basic ideas about what AI even is
Yeah.
and what it can actually do.
Okay, so uh, we've got a bunch of Hinton's interviews and lectures here where he really explains his perspective. Where do we start? What's the first misconception he tackles?
Well, one of the biggest ones is this idea that large language models are just like glorified autocomplete,
Right.
just predicting the next word.
Right, like our phones do when we're texting.
Yeah, exactly. But Hinton says that really oversimplifies what these models are doing. He says they're actually extracting meaning from the sentences and using that understanding to come up with responses.
So it's not just pattern recognition then.
It's much more than that. And to really illustrate this point, Hinton talks about this complex reasoning puzzle that he gave to GPT-4. It involved these paint colors fading over time, and the AI came up with the solution that like a human might not immediately think of.
Wait, so the AI outsmarted a human on a logic puzzle. Okay, tell me more about this puzzle.
Okay, so it goes something like this. The rooms in my house are painted white, yellow, or blue. Yellow paint fades to white within a year. In 2 years' time, I want all the rooms to be white. What should I do?
I think I'd probably just say paint all the blue rooms white. Seems simple enough.
Right, that's what most people
Yeah.
would say. But GPT-4 suggested painting the blue rooms yellow because it knew the yellow would fade to white after a year. And then by year 2, all the rooms would be white.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. So Hinton's point is that these models are actually doing more than we give them credit for, that they can demonstrate a deeper level of understanding.
Yeah, exactly. He uses this example to show that these models aren't just mimicking human language. They're capable of like logical reasoning and problem solving.
So it really challenges that whole simple autocomplete idea. What other misconceptions is Hinton talking about?
Well, he also points out that even though current AI can do some really impressive things, it's still limited compared to like actual human intelligence. It hasn't really achieved true understanding or reasoning the same way that humans do.
So there's a difference between mimicking intelligence and actually possessing it.
Exactly. And he gives this example of AI's ability to explain why a joke is funny, which it can do, by analyzing the structure and the patterns of humor. But he says AI can't really tell original jokes because it's missing that creative spark. And that intuitive understanding of human experience that humor really relies on.
I see. So it's like it can recognize the framework of a joke, but it doesn't really get it on that deeper level.
Yeah, right. And this really highlights a key point, that even with all the advancements, AI still has a long way to go before it can really replicate the full range of human intelligence.
That's good. That's a good reminder. Because sometimes it feels like AI is advancing so quickly, it's about to surpass us in every way.
Yeah, and the pace of development is incredibly fast. And Hinton's aware of that, in fact. He highlights this one advantage that digital intelligences have over us that could really accelerate that progress.
Oh, you're talking about the hive mind concept you mentioned.
Exactly. Hinton points out that digital intelligences can share knowledge instantly, which gives them a huge edge when it comes to learning.
Okay. Need you to break that down for me. What does that actually look like?
Okay, so imagine 10,000 digital agents, each one of them reading a different book. Once they're finished, they can instantly share everything they've learned with each other. It's like they download each other's brains, creating this vast network of shared knowledge.
That's weird. That's mind-blowing, to be honest. We humans have to go through this whole slow, messy process of education and communication to share knowledge. And AI can just skip all that.
Exactly. And that ability to form a hive mind through instant information sharing gives AI a huge advantage in learning and problem solving. And it's one of the reasons, Hinton thinks, that AI could eventually become smarter than humans.
Okay. That's where things start to get a little unnerving. I definitely want to explore that more. But first, I think we need to go deeper into the limitations of current AI.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the areas where it still falls short?
That's a great question, and it's one that Hinton addresses directly. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll look at some of the key areas where AI struggles, like creativity, emotional intelligence, and the ability to understand context.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's get into it.
Let's continue. So we were talking about where AI falls short, and one area is creativity. AI can generate all these variations of existing ideas, but it hasn't really grasped that spark of true originality that we see in humans.
Interesting. So it's like AI can remix, but not invent.
Exactly. It's like AI can analyze thousands of paintings and then create something that's in a similar style, but it's not going to come up with a whole new artistic movement.
So more of a master imitator than a true innovator.
That's a great way to put it. And this kind of ties into another area where AI falls short: emotional intelligence. AI can process and understand data related to emotions, but it doesn't actually experience emotions the same way humans do.
All right. We've all seen those
But kind of
awkward moments where chatbots try to express empathy and it just comes across as robotic.
Exactly. AI can recognize the patterns in human behavior and language that suggest certain emotions, but it doesn't have that lived experience, those complex feelings that shape how we understand the world.
Yeah, that makes sense. We learned about emotions through our own experiences and our interactions with other people, something that AI hasn't really been able to replicate.
Exactly. And this lack of emotional intelligence, it also limits AI's ability to understand context, which is so important for navigating the nuances of human communication and social situations.
Can you give me an example of what you mean by context?
Sure. Think about sarcasm. For AI to understand sarcasm, it needs to not only analyze the words, but also things like the tone of voice, facial expressions, the relationship between the people, and the overall situation. That's a lot of information to process.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So AI might misinterpret sarcasm or take things literally because it's missing those subtle cues that we humans pick up on.
Exactly. And this difficulty with context can lead to misunderstandings and errors, especially in situations where the meaning isn't explicitly stated.
So even with all the progress we've made, there are still some fundamental aspects of human intelligence that AI just hasn't been able to grasp.
Right. And Hinton emphasizes that these limitations are important as we think about the potential for AI to become more capable than humans.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that AI development is a journey, not a destination. And even as AI gets more sophisticated, it's not a simple replacement for human intelligence.
I agree. And Hinton says, this awareness is crucial. As we navigate the future of AI and its impact on society, we need to be careful about overestimating AI's capabilities, but also acknowledge its potential to transform a lot of different aspects of our lives.
So how do we strike that balance? How do we use the power of AI while being mindful of its limitations?
Well, Hinton suggests that a crucial first step is to be more realistic about what AI can and can't do. We need to move beyond the hype and recognize that AI is a tool, a very powerful tool, still a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's also about how we choose to use it.
Exactly. And that leads to another important point that Hinton makes, the need for ethical considerations in AI development.
Yeah, let's talk about ethics. What specific concerns does Hinton have?
One of his biggest concerns is the potential for bias in AI systems. Because AI algorithms are trained on huge amounts of data, they can accidentally absorb and perpetuate existing biases in that data.
Can you give me an example of how that might play out in the real world?
Sure. Imagine an AI system designed to help with hiring decisions. If the data it's trained on reflects historical biases in hiring practices, the AI might recommend candidates based on things like gender or race, even if those factors are irrelevant to the job qualifications.
That's a scary thought. So we need to be careful about the data we use to train AI and make sure it's as fair and unbiased as possible.
Absolutely. And Hinton emphasizes that this requires constant vigilance and critical evaluation of AI systems to identify and mitigate potential biases.
That sounds like a really complex challenge. What else does Hinton suggest we do to address these ethical concerns?
Well, he believes we need to develop clear ethical guidelines for AI development and use. These guidelines should address things like transparency, accountability, and fairness to make sure AI systems are used responsibly and for the benefit of society as a whole.
So it's about creating a framework for responsible AI development.
Exactly. And Hinton says this framework needs to involve lots of different perspectives, not just technologists, but also ethicists, social scientists, policymakers, and the public.
It's a good point. AI isn't just a technical issue. It's a societal issue with really big implications.
Precisely. And Hinton's perspective encourages us to approach AI development with responsibility and a commitment to making sure it aligns with human values and goals.
Okay, so we've talked about AI's limitations and the need for ethics. But we also need to remember that AI has this immense potential for good. Where does Hinton see AI making a positive impact?
That's a great question, and Hinton is definitely optimistic. He believes AI can revolutionize fields like healthcare, education, and scientific research.
I'm curious. Can you give me some examples?
In healthcare, AI could help develop personalized treatments, diagnose diseases earlier and more accurately, and even assist with surgery. In education, AI could provide personalized learning that's tailored to each student and help make quality education accessible to everyone.
Those are some impressive applications.
Yeah.
What about scientific research?
AI could analyze massive data sets and find patterns that humans might miss. It could really accelerate discovery in fields like medicine and climate change.
So AI could be this powerful tool for solving some of our biggest problems.
It definitely has the potential. And Hinton believes it's crucial that we use that power for good while being aware of the risks and the ethical considerations.
So it's about finding that balance again.
Exactly. And in the last part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the big philosophical questions that Hinton's warnings raise. What does it mean for humanity if we create something smarter than us? What does that mean for our future? How do we deal with the ethical dilemmas of a world where AI might play a much bigger role?
Those are some pretty deep questions.
Ah,
But I'm ready to tackle them. Let's continue this conversation.
let's do it.
So we've talked about the potential downsides of AI and the exciting possibilities.
Yeah.
But now I kind of want to get into like the big philosophical stuff. What does it even mean for us if we create something that's potentially smarter than humans?
Yeah, that's really the heart of Hinton's warning. He's asking us to think about some really fundamental questions about, our place in the world. For like centuries, we've defined ourselves as the most intelligent species on the planet. What happens when that's no longer true?
It's like an existential crisis almost.
Yeah.
Do we become like subservient to these super intelligent machines? Is that the future Hinton's worried about?
He doesn't say it's inevitable, but he definitely wants us to consider it. Remember all those advantages we talked about, the speed of learning,
Right.
the hive mind knowledge sharing, the incredible processing power AI could have. What happens when those capabilities become way more advanced than ours?
That's what I worry about. It's not just about AI like beating us at trivia or solving math problems faster. It's about a potential shift in power.
Right. Hinton's suggesting that. We might have to redefine what it means to be human in a world where intelligence isn't our defining characteristic.
It makes you question everything, like what's our purpose if we're not the smartest ones in the room anymore?
But then again, what if this incredible intelligence could be used to actually help humanity? Hinton does say that superintelligent AI could potentially solve some of our biggest problems.
Okay, so let's be optimistic for a second. What kind of problems are we talking about?
He believes that superintelligent AI has the potential to cure diseases,
Yeah.
reverse climate change, even explore the universe in ways we can't imagine.
So not exactly the robot overlords scenario. Maybe more like superpowered partners.
It's possible, but Hinton really stresses this. The key is alignment. This AI needs to be working with us, not against us. Its goals need to be compatible with ours.
That sounds incredibly difficult. How do you even program something like that into a superintelligence?
That's the big question. And honestly, we don't have all the answers yet. But Hinton says it's important to start now. We need more transparency in AI development. We need stronger ethical guidelines, built-in safety mechanisms, and global collaboration on a scale we've never seen before.
So it's a call to action for scientists, policymakers, for everyone to start taking this seriously.
Exactly. Hinton's message isn't about scaring people. It's about responsible innovation. It's about recognizing the incredible power of AI and taking steps to make sure it's used to benefit humanity.
This whole conversation has been a real roller coaster. From the excitement about AI's potential to the concerns about the risks, it's clear this is something we need to be paying attention to.
I agree. And it's not just a conversation for the tech industry or academics. This is about the future of humanity. It affects all of us.
So where do we go from here? What's the takeaway for our listeners?
Hinton's message is one of empowerment. He wants us to be informed, engaged, and proactive. Ask questions, demand transparency from the companies developing AI, support research into AI safety and ethics. Don't just watch it happen. Help shape the future you want.
That's a powerful message and a great way to wrap up our deep dive. Thanks for walking us through such a complex and interesting topic.
It was my pleasure. And remember, the future isn't predetermined. We have the power to choose what role AI will play in our lives.
Until next time, everyone, keep those minds open and keep questioning.